Welcome, everybody, to Star League on Friday, down here live at the Nexon Arena. My name is Valdez. Joining me today is Moonglade. How are you doing today, buddy?
Fantastic, mate. It's going to be another great day here at Star League. Yesterday was pretty good to start things off. Kicked it off with Wolf today. We get into the thick of things with some of the top Zerg players we have here in Korea.
Yeah, man. These
soO,
are
soO, and Dark.
Some sick matches tonight. Definitely go ahead and tell your friends to watch this stream, and not maybe any other streams.
Damn, that's aggressive, Brandon. Ooh.
We got some sick matches tonight. That's all I'm trying to say. And I'm going to have a blast casting these with you, Moonglade. I'm just looking forward to all these great matches. We've been playing a lot of the beta these days, but we're back to Heart of the Swarm for this competitive match.
Of course.
And,
we're going to be,
it.
let's face it, we're going to be stuck in Heart of the Swarm for the majority of this year. So
yeah,
we better get comfy. You know, it's nice to have like a bit of a change, but still, we still got this sick competition going on, and all these pro gamers still playing this game full time. So you got to enjoy it, you got to respect it. Heart of the Swarm still a fantastic game, and we're going to see some fantastic games today. Kicking things off with Super versus soO.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. soO kind of, being medium level, doing decently for himself, having some chokes, but he's starting to look like he's getting over them, whereas Super, we haven't seen him in a while. He's like kind of floating around.
He's always there, and he's one of these really dangerous players.
Yeah, he is dangerous.
He can do a lot of work. It really depends on how much he's been motivated and how much he's been practicing. Obviously, he did qualify for SSL again, which is a huge achievement in itself. And
yeah,
I definitely think he can take it over soO. soO showed a lot of his ZVP just the other day and in Code A.
Yeah.
So that's always a possibility.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get into this one. Guys, we have some events down here at the studio. If you do come and join us for SSL, I think you can get these items, even if you are a foreigner, even though it is in Korean. But we got some headsets, we got some mouse pads. It looks like a little figurine there of Jim Raynor up in the top left.
Yeah.
And, a couple different mouse pads and Warlords of Draenor.
I don't know if you really want that, but hopefully, though, out of all this, you want probably the Marine on the top left to show your true passion.
Yeah. If you're a true StarCraft fan, that's what you would go for just because it's Jim Raynor. For me, I would probably go for the headset.
I'd go for the World of Warcraft.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Straight up, bro. No, man. Here we go. Here's a look at the matches that have happened so far and the ones in the future. Obviously, Lenok defeating Flash, Hurricane winning his game, and Hero winning his over Symbol. Pretty one-sidedly, and probably one of the most biggest beatdowns we've seen in recent times. And obviously today, Super versus soO, Cure versus Sulky, Dark versus Trap. All three of these matches actually incredibly close. We actually couldn't ask for a more closer day of matches.
Yeah, seriously, man. Really interesting, just all of these. We talked about Super versus soO, but Cure versus Sulky. Cure kind of like the TVZ master.
Yep.
Whereas Sulky just a really strong player overall.
Yep, and I mean, looking at Dark versus Trap. Trap defeated Dark 3-1 at the IEM Katowice.
Yep. Just
a couple weeks ago. So things are very interesting today.
Revenge match here at the SSL. And I was actually asked on stream today who I thought would be the winners of SSL and GSL this time around for Season 2. I picked Hero as one of them, and glad he made it past the round of 24. I think this is what this is called, right?
Yeah, that's definitely what it's called. Or Challenger, whatever you want.
Yeah. And interesting, another thing I was watching last night, Hurricane 3-0ing Rogue. What was that all about, man? That was really interesting.
Rogue played bad. He played way under his level, or like he's like obviously like very jet lagged, or just out of practice, or just had no preparation time for this player. It's hard to say what went wrong, but Hurricane took full advantage of his weak mindset and proxy nexus and shut him down that sort of way, which is what you do against Rogue. Like we saw it last time as well. You get that first game in, you can start trolling and really tilt him very easily.
Not the strongest mindset in that kind of player. But once again, guys, just our 3 matches up here. You may want to take a picture of this, spread this around the internet. It's Super versus soO for match number 4, the first match of today. And then we go into Cure versus Sulky for TVZ. And then another PVZ down there at the bottom, Dark versus Trap. A lot of Zerg today.
A lot of Zerg, yeah. A lot of Zerg yesterday as well. A lot of Zerg's doing well in the SSL. But it's hard to say who would actually win each of these matches. I don't think the Zergs have the upper hand like maybe at the start of this year or last year. I'd have to say Dark, Sulky, and soO were much higher up in the food chain.
Yeah.
Now they're Super, very dangerous. Cure fantastic against Zerg and Trap, already beaten his opponent in recent times.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about like all those 3 players being on top towards the beginning of this year. Let's talk about Dark a little bit, where, you know, he was doing so well at the beginning of 2015. Everybody was really excited for him. You know, on SK Telecom, he was really strong, winning a lot of games, but then he just kind of fell off a bit.
Yeah, he was like one of the hottest kids in the block, man. He was tearing it up, and everyone thought he was going to be the new sort of Zerg hope. But life, you know, kept leading the way, and he kind of dropped off after a while, Dark. He just had some trouble. Anyway, though, here we go into our first match, and here is Super without a team, or maybe actually he's in with the team, Invasion, just not wearing the apparel today, I guess.
No jersey, just a gray T-shirt from the store down the street.
Well, something's
$5.
Giordano, no doubt.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that says something about him and his team's relationship, or maybe he just forgot it today.
Could be. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future with him and his team. But over here is soO, quite comfortably part of SK Telecom T1, showing up a bunch of times in Pro League. He had a couple of rough matches against Terran, you know, against Meg specifically. But again, this guy is still one of the most consistent Zergs in the world. I mean, last year he was just like straight up there near the top. He didn't get any finals, but as you guys see there, he got, well, maybe you don't, but it's like second place, and 4th place, which is just insane, you know?
It's amazing by itself. You know, it shows just what caliber of player he was last year, and he really dropped off at the start of this year. But, you know, one of the most important things coming into this match is the fact that soO had to play a best-of-5 against the Protoss just this week in Code A. You know, defeating Seed 3-1. Seed trying some very cheesy stuff and soO shutting it down. Obviously going to give Super an idea of how this guy's playing, how defensive he is, how good he is at holding off the kind of all-ins we did see from Seed. Yeah,
and Super's a smart player. You'll see this from time to time. He comes into tournaments and he looks like the underdog, but then he just like wrecks someone 3-0. I think that happened in like WCG against someone he wasn't supposed to win against. I forget exactly who it was, but this guy he's very smart. He knows the meta. I'm sure we'll see at least a couple games of him playing like straight Blink Stalker with a lot of sentries. That very strong style that a lot of Zergs are having trouble with these days. And if I know Super at all, I think he's definitely going to go for that at least a couple times.
Yeah, without a doubt. He will definitely try that style, and maybe some other ones. He's very well versed in the mid game and the late game. He's got great army control, which is one thing I really noticed when I saw him play last time. He's definitely a dangerous opponent, especially for someone like soO, who's going to try his best to take it to the mid game, to the late game, where, you know, maybe Super's just a little bit more comfortable and can go for these really hardcore kind of timing attacks, especially with Blink Stalkers and sentries. You know, he has fantastic force fields.
Yep. As you guys do see down there for Super, he got kicked out of the round of 8 last season by Dream 0-3. But, of course, Dream went on to the finals, getting knocked out by Maru there. But, guys, let's jump into the map pool we got here. We got this map, Cactus Valley. You guys were talking about this yesterday. You're like, where did this map come from? We're going to see a veto on that probably every single time we come into this. And then, of course, a Deadwing ban from soO. Pretty strong Protoss map there. And then we're going to go into Expedition Lost, Overgrowth, King Signal Station, Bonnie Research Station, and then Merry-Go-Round to finish things up here.
Yeah, you know, pretty decent map pool. Kind of expected, I guess. Not a bad order for Super, I'd have to say. Merry-Go-Round being the last map in this. He has a lot of time to sort of close this best-of-5 out if he wants to, if he can. Try and avoid going into the 5th game.
What do you think about Expedition Lost for PvZ?
We've seen a lot of Blink Stalker sentry play on this map. It's kind of hard for the Zerg to defend well, I feel. If there's good force fields, there's like a lot of ramps that kind of lead to each of the bases that can just be walled off with a force field and really just shut it down. Yeah. So we'll see if Super's going to go for that kind of style, just simply Blink Stalker sentry, parting sort of esque style.
Wouldn't be surprised. Let's jump into that game number 1 here between Super and soO. Up here in the top right, in the blue, the Protoss player from Invasion Esports. He is Super.
Down here to the bottom left, we do have the Zerg player, soO. I didn't forget his name, Valdez.
No, you didn't.
I swear I didn't.
You slipped it in there.
It was just a very drawn-out introduction to this game.
You wanted to make it really epic, you know?
I wanted people to try and guess who that Zerg player was before we went into the game.
Yeah, man.
Already a pylon on the top of the ramp. Looks like it will be that gateway expansion. Or maybe even just a Nexus first with a very defensive sort of pylon. See where this next probe goes. How soO is going to play this one. It's going to be interesting because he did actually get a nice view of what soO wants to do against Protoss these days, how he's playing in this current meta of things.
Yeah. I mean, those matches happened not last night, right? But 2 nights ago.
Yeah, I believe it was 2 nights ago.
And that is just incredibly recent data. You know, you're talking about this, but let's think about it. It's 2 days ago. How much time could soO have had to switch up his playstyle against Protoss? I'll give you the answer. It's none. He's going to play the same way against Super.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So it's, I guess at the very least for soO, he has been practicing a lot of this matchup. So it's lucky for him that he gets 2 of the same matchup in a week. It's like, well, I just have to focus on this matchup and nothing else for the whole week, and I'm going to be good for both my games. But at the same time, like, he's got to be careful what he shows. And if he does show stuff, what can he change up to kind of trip up Super as well?
Definitely positives and negatives.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I was just going to say, like, we don't even really see soO committing to defending against this cannon, sort of pretend cannon thing very much at all. Already defended it. All right, he brought down 4 drones after all.
Yeah. But it was slow and steady, you know. He definitely wasn't overreacting. Didn't bring down like 10 drones.
Yeah.
And here we see for Super, the Nexus does come down after that gate. Immediately adds the 2 gases as well. And there's that gate Nexus core build we see very often from Protosses, especially on maps like this. Gonna want to wall off the top of the ramp now. Make sure he can't be Zergling busted here.
Yeah, definitely the next step. Super actually didn't get a sort of a scout in the main base of what the gases might be for soO, but I think he can kind of assume that it won't be anytime soon. So he's got a little bit of time to put down a couple more gateways, make sure that's completely walled off at the ramp, and deal with any sort of Zerglings on the way. So we see soO go for, gasless 3 base essentially.
It's just going to be a bit greedy here. No upgrades at all. Just trying to pump out as many drones as possible, get his 3 bases up and running. And I think this kind of, pertains to maybe the way that soO is thinking. He's like, oh, no, I'll be safe. I'll be fine. I know that Super's not really going to put on the aggression. I have time here to just lay back, be greedy, get my economy running? Or is it just, maybe soO's style? What do you think about this?
Ultimately, I think it's soO's style. He's always been the very macro-oriented Zerg more than anything else. Like, he's the last guy you'd expect to go for a 9 pool or a speedling timing or anything like that. Anything that life does, soO does not, essentially. He's really his own sort of Zerg player. He's the kind of macro Zerg that most players, I guess, aspire to be. Not many people actually aspire to be someone like Life. Life is a pretty much one-of-a-kind Zerg. He just makes it happen with the tools that he has. As soO's kind of like the bread and butter Zerg, the guy that's going to master drones up nice and quick and go for the hard counter to whatever he can scout.
Yeah.
Which is going to be more of the same this time, as we do see, that gasless 3 base and just hardcore droning up while he tries to get a scout off with Overlords and Lings.
Mm. Do you kind of feel like Sulky plays in a similar fashion to soO? That kind of just macro, reactive, passive Zerg kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely do. But Sulky's also got his own flavor to it. And he can be maybe a little bit more aggressive. And he's got his own sort of builds, especially, like that 2 base sort of muter rush into a later 3rd base against Terran. It's like just an example of how he kind of goes about it.
It's funny we're talking about this because soO, I remember, I think it was the beginning of 2015, he would just sometimes come out in Pro League and just do these super aggressive roach rushes against Terran. He did that for like maybe 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, and then it just like totally disappeared. It's something that I find very interesting about soO. Like, it was at the time where a lot of people were calling him the Angry Zerg. He would just like try to kill people.
Right. Yeah, I remember that time, and it did drop off pretty quick as well. It's kind of, I guess another way to put it is he's like a Kesper Zerg, like the true essence of a Kesper Zerg, which is focus hardcore on mechanics and macro more than anything else. There's Brood War fundamentals coming into it. Where you have a player like Life who wasn't part of Kesper for the majority of his Starcraft 2 career. He was Startail, he was doing his own thing, he kind of made his own style up. And he's starting to become more of a macro Zerg now. So maybe starting to be a little bit more like sulky and soO in that sort of regard. But still, you know, he's crazy aggressive with speedlings more than anything else.
Yeah, for sure. We see 15 drones being pumped out here by soO. I think he knows for sure. He's just like, okay, I got a lot of speedlings out on the map. Now I'm going to be totally fine and behind the second drone up, get my 3 bases saturated.
Ooh. That's actually a lot of sentries. Wow, this is kind of already gearing up to be exactly how we predicted this map to be. 9 sentries already out. That's all you'll ever need for this whole game, so long as you keep them all alive while you go into that mass stalker with blink and +2.
Yeah, you never really want to go more than like 8 or 10. At that point, it's just like, you know, way too much. But he does go up to 11, actually. So, funnily enough, I'm like, okay, all right, Super, I see how it is.
Yeah, well, hey,
thanks, man.
This is Super. You know, he's got his own ideas, his own like comfort levels of like what he wants. It's like, well, you know what? I do want that many sentries because I want to have infinity force fields for any sort of situation, which, in my opinion, is a fantastic idea.
Yeah,
he's going to be applying the pressure here. Mothership Core is a little far behind, but you know, still kind of in range to get that recall if he needs it.
The thing about this is, like, just like you were saying, with 11 sentries, you basically can't die unless you're not looking. You know, you could just always save your army, and even if that Mothership Core doesn't come in a little bit late, should be able to recall back. It looks like he was just putting on a little bit of pressure. Doesn't really want to go for the kill. Of course, he only had like 1 stalker in that mix. Now he's got 4.
Yeah, well, he's going to be throwing out a lot more very soon.
Yeah, that's the idea, man. Get those 3 bases up and running. Oh, he actually throws down 2 Stargates here. I think that's a reaction to seeing the Spire.
Definitely. Absolutely a reaction to this, and not a bad idea at all. If he can hard counter this quick, then soO is going to be in a world of hurt. And to be fair, one of the traits of soO, especially in his old sort of ZBT style, was he loved to go muted Corruptor. Once he got that 4th base, he loved to switch into mutas and just mass Corruptors behind it and go for that hardcore sort of air war. So if we see Super kind of get the jump with that quickly, go for 2 Stargate Phoenix, add a Fleet Beacon pretty quickly, get the Phoenix range going, he could just hard counter this and win the game very, very quickly.
Yeah, we'll have to see though. Ooh, nice bunch of force fields here. He's got so many to burn. I mean, I'm sure a lot of those sentries are at full energy. So he's like, well.
Doesn't want to throw any away, though. Nice. I like this a lot. soO, though, you know, he's simply applying pressure. He's on 8 gas now. He is making those mutas. But we already see 2 Stargate Phoenix getting chroned out. Maybe the one mistake is he's kind of showing them, though. If he had kept them in his main base, and when the mutas finally come out, he just jumps on the mutas and they'll die because they're over the other side of the map. But now, because he saw those 2 Phoenix, he added 6 Corruptor, and he's going into Swarm Hosts.
Yeah, I really like the way that soO has played this. I feel like also Super was a bit too passive. Kind of just like lost his timing for that Stalker Sentry pressure. You know what I mean? He just gave soO so much time to transition into Swarm Hosts, which is like pretty much the direct counter. And he's like, okay, I'm totally fine here on 4 bases, 80 drones. I've got so many different techs. I really like soO's position in this game. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I think it's mostly because Super has spent his whole time kind of countering what soO is doing instead of applying the pressure himself.
Exactly.
If he had gone for like the hardcore sort of Stalker warp-ins and went for the kill straight off the bat, didn't give soO a single chance to go mutas, maybe, just maybe, soO would have lost the base by now and he'd be on the back foot. But instead, Super's the one defending on 3 base. soO is going into Swarm Host Corruptor. He's going the hard counter to exactly what Super has.
Yeah. I mean, just like you say, Super, he's just like trying always on the back foot to go for a counter. But hold that thought, he is going to go for an attack here. He's got an interesting mix of units. That is a decent amount of Swarm Posts here. The Locust doing nice damage to those Zealots in the front. And once those goes down, there's nothing to tank, and he's only got sentries.
This is such a bad sort of a trade here. He should never be fighting this. The moment he saw those Locusts, he had to turn around. Instead, he decided to trade. He decided to lose half his units to the Locusts. And now, he's caught really on the back foot. He's going to have to sit inside that natural and defend the main base.
Yeah, man.
Well,
and if you look at what Super's trying to do right now, he's chrono boosting out a Colossus with already so many of these Corruptors down on the map. He's got 11, 6 mutas to support as well. And I don't know. It looks like soO might even just have this game at this point. He's totally shutting down what Super's trying to do.
I think he just about does. The composition's just way too inferior for Super. He can't actually deal with Lucas at all. All he can do is force field them off, as we see so many sentries go down. Wow, he just lost half of them just to this handful of Lucas.
Oh my god. Look at this. The third base is like totally coming down. There were 5 cannons there. I just want to point that out. 5 cannons at his third base. That's how passive Super was playing there.
I think Super was really expecting it to be Muta Corruptor and just going for the hard counter there. Where Super, I think, really should have been pushing the issue against someone like soO, who's going to sit back and macro until he's comfortable with his economy and is going to go for the aggression.
Yeah.
A bit of a mistake there from Super.